Hello, everybody. Um, I'm
Hello,
Zarek, as you
hello.
can see on my name tag, and I'm joined by
Point,
Ricky.
point below.
Yeah, I'm joined by Ricky Rivera. He's my business partner.
Mhm.
And yeah, we're here today to talk to you a bit about Indominant.
Yeah, super excited to be able to get on a recording here, be able to share more about the game. We've been sharing through blog posts, through Instagram. We've been connecting it even on our Discord. And with this, we just wanted to be able to just share more about it. What's going on with Indominant? What even is Indominant? And just kind of like some of the overall general features of it. We'll be doing a lot more of these videos as we get a little bit more used to like our YouTube sense and our videos and things like that. So just look out for that. But we're really excited to just get rolling on it.
Yeah, so today we're going to be overviewing Indominant and the Indominant TTRPG system. Just going over pretty much everything special about it that's not necessarily just part of being a TTRPG. So, what is Indominant? What is the Indominant TTRPG? It is a superhero tabletop role-playing game, and it's driven by player creativity and customization, which are the main tenets of its design. We have crunchy combat rules, and we also have a free-form social and exploration set of rules and mechanics, and that's what makes Indominant fun and exciting.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, picture this, right? Being able to be somebody who can take some rocks from the ground, right? Lift them up, throw them over at an enemy, stop robberies. Being somebody who can shoot out lightning from their actual hands, or just being somebody who's extremely agile and very good with weapons. We've got it all. We want to be able to expand and include more and more power sets. We'll dig into all the power sets that are available as well in the system. But yeah, maybe the first thing we'll talk about is just kind of general overall the rule system, right? So as a tabletop role-playing game, we use the D20 dice. So that's polyhedral dice. So you can see these kind of dice like this. So we use D20 all the way down to a D4, very typical kind of polyhedral set. But you're able to actually roll with these dice to actually see what are the end up results of you going out there and trying to hit a villain, right, to stop them or to use an actual power and so on. So you actually are able to actually use those and use your main stats. We have main stats as well as skills that are independent from your stats as well. So Zarek, do you want to talk about character stats?
Yeah, so for our character stats, we have 5 main stats. These kind of depict the different aspects of your character. So we've got agility, that's kind of your ability to move quick and dodge, be very quick on your feet. We've got durability, which is what makes you tough and hard to hurt. Intellect kind of says it all in the name. It's about your brain, and it's not just rote knowledge, it's also just how kind of intuitive you are. Even natural knowledge is kind of included in there. It's not just being book smart. And then we've also got might, which is your physical strength. Might makes you good at lifting things, it makes you good at grappling in combat. Physical strength, the mighty, that's my favorite type of character, of course. And then power is our last stat, and power is the stat that kind of describes your character's powers and how effective and powerful they are. Even if you're somebody who uses technology for your powers, like one of our core characters, Heatsink, he uses special technology to have fire manipulation powers. He has a high power stat, even though it's technically not part of like his being. It's something about him as a super, and so that power stat still is in effect, even if his powers come from an external source. And then we've got our combat stats. With our combat stats, every archetype, which we'll get into in a little bit, kind of converts some of their main stats into these combat stats. And so we've got our attack modifier, as Ricky said. This will add to your d20 rolls when you're trying to attack somebody. We've got damage modifier. Whenever you deal damage, you're going to add it. There's some situations where you might not. Every power and effect will tell you that. Control modifier is going to make you better at inflicting status effects, things like that. Health is kind of a direct result of your durability, and that determines how much damage you can take before you get knocked down and are kind of out of combat or out of commission for a little. And then defense, which is the kind of opposite side of the coin with attack modifier. When someone's attacking you, they're trying to beat your defense. And we've got damage reduction, which reduces damage you take. Not all damage, but most damage.
Yeah. So using combat stats, those are essentially, your effectiveness in your actual role on the field. But to actually apply those combat stats, we actually have a full action economy system. So action economy, to dive into that, is what you will use when you are in combat. It is essentially telling you what can you do on your turn. Right, so you and your superpowered crew are together on each one of your turns. You have the ability to go out there and use your powers, and we give you a couple of different points. We call them action points, and as well a reaction, to be able to actually react to something that might happen in front of you, next to you, that kind of thing. So what these action points do is, once your turn comes up, you can actually apply a certain number of action points towards a main action. A main action is like usually your big move, the one that takes a bit more effort to be able to use. So if you're using fire, you're sending over a big old wave of fire in a particular area. If you're using gadgets, you're making a gadget or throwing a bomb, or whatever it is that you're actually building and putting it out there. Right, so that's like your main action. It takes the most amount of energy and or usage for it to actually go out there.
Yeah, and how many action points does a main action cost?
So a main action point costs 2 action points.
Awesome.
Yep. Yeah. And then we have minor actions. So these, they take a little bit less of your, they take less action points for one. They only take 1 to use. But these are things that are kind of, overall, they're less powerful, and yet they're more strategic. Most of the time, these are things that try to apply some kind of effect on somebody, whether you're trying to grapple somebody with a particular power, whether you're trying to put some kind of area effect in play that will really mess up a villain, or maybe bump up and help out some of your comrades that are on the field with you. But usually a minor action is something that, again, it's just that quick kind of thing that you can actually go ahead and do. And then we have movement actions. So movement action is your ability to just go from one place on the field to another area on the field. So by moving, you do take up 1 action point to be able to move forward. And you can take an additional 1 point if you want to move further. So if you want to reposition yourself, right, very quickly on the battlefield, and then perhaps blow away an enemy with a main action to their face, because now you're directly in front of them, the ability is there for you to be able to do that. So you can mix and match these kind of actions together to be able to do more on the field.
Mm-hmm. And you can only move twice per turn. Just something we kind of have to limit to make range important and impactful, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, we don't want to eliminate all the folks that do have high range and so on, and that's kind of like their advantage, to have the high range capabilities and so on. So there is a limit on the number of times that you can actually move, and it's just twice per turn. So the next actions that we have are free actions. So these are ones that it's probably the least amount of, let's just say, like necessary force or strength or anything to do. This is like, I'm going to take a free action to go and flip a switch, or to try and look at something, or try to get more information from an area. It's something that doesn't require usually the usage of your power at all. So those are those kind of things. It's something that's free. It doesn't take up any action points, but we do limit that in our game, so that way you don't kind of have an unlimited pool of, I want to look at this, I want to do that, I want to do that, I want to do this, and then you can slow down the system, right, or slow down the combat. From there, we get into a lot more heroic or villainous actions, just depending on how you want to play out your powers. So when you get stronger in the campaign, you actually, gain more levels and so on. Eventually, you're going to be able to unlock what we call signature actions or signature powers, I should say. So signature powers, these are the ones that really, you think about a fire manipulator, you think about a gadgeteer, you think of those names. These are the things that really exemplify what they actually are. So a signature action is something that allows you to use your power in abundance. It either does a lot of damage, it adds a lot of stats, combat stats to you. It does a lot of really cool things, just depending on which which power set that you actually have. Then there's ultimate actions. So ultimate actions are, well, they're the ultimate form of your power, the peak of your power. Both signature and ultimate are ones that you can only do once an entire day. You can kind of imagine this as being like the thing that takes up the most amount of energy in order for you to actually blast it out towards a big enemy, right? But when you're at that high level, these are things that could effectively change the entire combat experience. It could change around what's going on the field. It makes the threats that you're facing have to respond to you immediately, for sure. But ultimate action is just that next higher tier item of doing the most amount of damage. Jumping into a gigantic robotic suit, or being able to throw entire infernos or huge seismic earthquakes. It just depends on what power set it is, but these are where those kind of powers actually live.
Mm-hmm.
And then
you
you
want to talk
have
about the momentous actions? Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off there. Yeah.
How could you, Zarek? No. So yeah, the next action, it's newer to our game. We're calling it momentous action. You definitely, I'm sure, have seen different shows, media, movies where the hero does something that's especially heroic. That they have to extend their arm out, they stop a moving train, they save that that child from getting hit. It's something that just it has to happen. It absolutely is that they go out of their way to go out there and really save the day. So these momentous actions are an action that you can do every single session of your game that you play with your friends. But what it allows you to do is to add more to the actual roll for your combat stats, or when you're out of combat, add more to the roll of your skill checks or your skills. And Zarek will talk about those in a second. But these are the things like I must absolutely disarm that bomb, right? So a technology check to disarm it, or I absolutely have to catch this building before it crushes like my friend or crushes a civilian. So it's a might check or a stat check. Right, so it's those different things that are you're able to do to be able to absolutely make sure that it happens and get to where you need in combat or out of combat. So there's a consequence for every momentous action that you take. Again, if you're trying to lift half a building, you may be successful, but maybe you've torn a ligament, and in our game, you take an injury. So it's that kind of balance of, yes, you can do those things, you can absolutely win, but there is that consequence that perhaps now trying to disarm that bomb, you're kind of overwhelmed, right? And as a result, you have less effectiveness against other skills that you're trying to roll for. So that's kind of just the balancing act there. So that way it's more fair, but you're able to actually do the things when you need it to do, when you absolutely need that roll to actually succeed.
Awesome.
So from there, I'll turn it over to not so much out of combat, but really kind of the skills that you can use everywhere else, right, in our game, from the social, the exploration, that kind of aspects of the game. So I'll turn it over to Zarek to talk about skills.
Yeah, so for skills in Indominant, we separated them from the stats. And the reason we did that is in our opinion and our design space, we just wanted to get that feeling and sense that anyone can get good at anything. They don't necessarily have to be quick on their feet and have a high agility to be good at, let's say, lock picking, or be good at acrobatics. It's something you could train at and get better, even if it's not something that's like some of those characteristics are not core to your being. So we've got a bunch of different stats from, as I mentioned, acrobatics. We've got cunning, which is going to be things like lock picking, deception, intimidation, fitness, technology, medicine, everything like that. Kind of covers everything that you could ever do outside of combat, and so those skills are there to, interact with the world around you. And skills, what makes them unique and Indominant is that, as we said, they're not tied to stats. And so the way that you get better with skills is by using them, right? As I just said, anybody can train and get better at their skills. So that's how it works in our game. Your skills have their own experience, each one, and they gain experience as you use them. And so you get better, and you can level up. And kind of part of that too is we also have skill expertise. May sound familiar, but in our system, expertise gives you just an extra edge above other people using that skill. So if I have expertise, I get an additional +3 on top of whatever the level my skill is, the bonus from that level would give me. So even if me and Ricky, both of our characters, we have level 10 in intimidation, if I have expertise, I'm just a little bit better. You can explain that in a multitude of ways. Maybe it's just you're kind of got a little natural knack for it, or something about you just makes you good at it. And then kind of in tandem with that, we do have interactions between your powers and your skills. This actually comes up a lot in our playtesting and everything, and so using your powers can interact with your skills. So we have a skill called Sense. That's kind of just your general, perception and feeling of things around you, whether it's listening, seeing, or even just kind of like spidey sense, feeling things around you. And, somebody who's maybe an earth manipulation super, who can lift rocks and move rocks, they kind of have just a natural tie. Or even if their technology, maybe they just have the right sensors, their technology interacts with earth and rocks, and so they can kind of sense the motion of earth and rock. And so if there's dust in the air, or maybe they can sense the seismic activity and something that they can't see or hear, they might be able to know where it is and use their powers to sense things around them. So that's skills. In a nutshell, of course, we'll have other videos where we get into that.
Awesome.
More in depth, yeah. So do you want to kind of kick us off with some information about character creation?
Yeah. So character creation, creating your super. It's a quick process. We only have 10 steps to actually create your super. And the first 2 or 3 is just who are you and what's your secret identity, if you have one. Right. So with character creation, just some background here. Every super in our game has ability to go up to level 20, level 20 being our max level. But with that, every level you're able to actually add on more to your super. So we have things where you can get more effective in your combat stats. So you can add more to that. You're gaining more expertise in some of the skills that Zarek just explained. So as you're going and growing, you can actually increase those things as well, and as well as unlocking different powers and power tiers, so that way you can become more effective in combat and even outside of combat, and being able to use more powers to your benefit. Thank you guys so much for being able to listen in on Indominant and having us talk about our game. We have our primer available on our website, odinskeygaming.com. I'll likely have Zarek probably put it up here or over there, or wherever makes sense. But we'd love for you to be able to go in for absolutely free, check out the game, tell us about it. You can contact us through the website as well, through YouTube and comments as well. But we are having play tests and games going on all the time as well. So we're really looking forward to any feedback.
Yeah, and we also have a Patreon, which you can see through our website. Our Patreon is where you can get monthly content, pre-made stories. We also have some other rewards, like a monthly developer stream where we talk about a specific topic and go more in depth on those, and some other fun things, of course, too. But yeah, thank you for joining us.
Thank
See
you.
you on the next one.
Bye bye.